you pause before doing something, not because it feels wrong, but because you think, am I allowed to do this? A slight tightness in your chest, like you are being watched, judged. Today, the question from the wisdom of the universe that we're looking at is, how can there be no such thing as the Ten Commandments? And they answer, because the word of God is not a commandment, but a covenant. Who would I command? Myself? And who shall I punish should my commandments not be kept? There is only me. God says, these are not restrictions. These are freedoms. These are my commitments, not my commandments. And you shall know you are on the path by these signs, these changes in you. And I will read now the commitments that are in the book. So, and they are. So there are 10 of them there. 1, you shall love God with all your heart, mind, soul. So if you're God, you offer that yourself. You shall not use the name of God in vain. You shall remember to keep a day for me and call it holy. You will not murder, but will honor all life forms. You will not defile the purity of love with dishonesty or deceit. You will not take a thing that is not your own, nor cheat, harm another to have anything, nor shall you. Say a thing that is not true. Covet your neighbor's spouse, covet your neighbor's goods. For God does not order about what God has created. God merely tells God's children through signs. That is how you know that you're coming home. And so what does that mean in human terms? And here's the core truth. You were taught to relate to life through obedience, not through awareness. And let's get precise. A command requires authority, obedience, fear of consequences. A covenant is different. Covenant is a relationship, an agreement, not do this or you will be punished. But this is what naturally unfolds when you are aligned. That's the shift. These are not commandments, these are signs. Meaning, they're not rules you follow to be good. They are expressions that emerge when you are living in truth. So instead of asking, what am I supposed to do? The question becomes, what is true here? And that matters. The book says these are your freedoms, not your restrictions. That's a completely different orientation, not control, recognition. And so how would it look like in real life? The best examples that I would use, and I question myself, right? When I was married to the father of my daughter, who's now my late husband, the commitments that you make, and that's what it meant to me, is that I go for advice to my husband. If I have a problem, I go to him and vice versa. And I looked at, well, what does it mean to be a wife? And as he questioned, what does it mean for him to be a husband? And both of us learned, we figured out on our own for ourselves what it means. Because everyone, don't get me wrong, everyone had a story of how it should be. But no one asked, how do we want it to be? What worked for us? How did we want it to create our life? And what was important for us? And intuitively, I knew from that age, I got married at 20, I knew it back then. The importance was of communicating and listening and honoring him, honoring our marriage, not going outside. As I said, if I had a problem, go to him, speaking with love and kindness. And I am, I'm sure you have either if it hasn't happened to you, you've heard someone that said, for some reason, when it comes to the label family or husband and wife or mother, father, siblings, we've got this notion that gave us the authority to be rude, to be destructive, to get away with shit, to lie. And it's like, no, it doesn't give you that free pass. And that was for me. And when things have unfolded, so like becoming a wife, that wasn't just then. It was through years that I guess for myself, the way, as I said, the way I look at things, it was an honor to be his wife. Like I know he told me as well, it was an honor to be a husband to me. And we took that very seriously and lovingly and kindly. And yeah, we went and seeked guidance to how to be better, to how to be kinder, to how to grow together, and how to cultivate our life, put our energies together. And you know how there's the saying, there's two brains are better than one. How to um, work on each other's strength instead of weaknesses. And we did quite regularly, a check-in with, and of course, as I said, we learned, we asked for help, but most importantly, we worked as a team. Um, and my stories were very different to when our daughter was born. And he's like, sweetie, I am so grateful that because we had between two of us, if we combine 200%, we're 25% chance of becoming parents. Again, I've written it in the book or I share in some of my stories through the scripts. And with that, he knew, of course, how difficult it was. And a week that she was born, he got diagnosed with leukemia. And I was having a really tough day, really rough day. And yeah, he was having a tough day. But it's like, sweetie, you go out to see a friend. And when I went out to friends, the dialogue that I was met with, oh my God, how could you leave your daughter with your husband? And I'm like, are you okay? I said, well, notice the difference. He's not just the husband, he's also the father. And in my point of view, my perspective, what I experienced, I said, just because I'm a mother doesn't mean I know better. I struggled more to be a parent than he did. I watched and what I got to experience, it's like, it was intuitively perfect for me to struggle and observe and witness him with our daughter. Oh, those moments that he got to spend with her before he passed. Oh my God, just the way she smiled at him, the way he smiled at her. Absolutely amazing. I got to have that because I've chosen to put my whatever those beliefs that didn't work for me that I know better. God no. Just because I'm a woman and yes, I can do things differently to what he couldn't. And yes, I did not know better. I struggled and he thrived. And I got to experience that. And so I told that friend, I said, well, here you are complaining to me instead of going to your partner and sorting out with your partner. He is the father. He's not just the husband. He's the father. He's your friend. Well, that's the way I saw it. And I said, so we have an understanding. We have love. We have compassion. We talk. We don't just do things. We do it together as a team. And that is why I get to experience this and talk from love and understanding and compassion. And you get to experience things differently. And they are from you're not having any enjoyment. And I invited her to look at the promises I said, you guys made promises to each other. And to go beyond the labels and treat each other with love and compassion, I think I might have gone off script. However, just sharing, and so with that, I owned a title. You could say, just because I got married doesn't mean that made me a wife. It's through, we were together over 10 years before he passed. It's through action, through actions, through showing up, through choosing, through difficult moments, choosing to stay, choosing to grow, choosing to be. And then when he passed, I didn't, just because I gave birth, didn't make me a mom. So fast forward now, our daughter is 16. Yeah, now I can say I earned a title to be a mom. And I get emotional. My daughter writes me love notes. And now she's making me a beautiful gift because she knows how much I love green tea. So that's, to me, that is how I express it. And let me say again, doesn't mean I have not, I call it fucked that up. I stay and I take advantage of the opportunity to repair, to do differently, to grow. Okay. So, and the example was there about, so we know there about not to lie. And for me, again, everything that I share, it's how I choose to do things, and bringing into balance why I've been very strict with myself and hard about lying doesn't work for me. And even those things that people say, but it's a little lie, or things that we don't think it's a lie. Again, that's for me, I would invite you to really have a look where, when you say to someone, when you make those commitments and you don't honor them, that's a lie. If you say you're going to be there at this time and you don't show up, to me, that's a lie. And if you know you're not able to, especially in this day and age, we have so many different ways of communicating, right? If you have a phone and you're driving, you don't need to touch a phone. You say you activate in my case, it's Siri. If you have an Android, I don't know, it's, Alexa. You can voice text to notify what is going on. And I am going to bring it into here about, instead of in one of the scripts I said, we so have distorted the word I'm sorry. You can say, instead of, let's say you're running late, you say, thank you for waiting. Thank you for being so understanding. Thank you for your patience. It changes. That's what I found. And I would invite you to try it for yourself. And own yourself. Said, hey, I know I said this, however, that's not how the reality looks like. What can I do to change that? What would work for you? For myself, I'm finding being the question, and comes down to, let's say, so the line, right? My daughter and I, when I realized how much I trust her, and she herself realized how much I trust her. So I'm going to share with you. So being Russian, I only use, yes, vodka for medicinal purposes, and it's in the freezer. And medicinal purposes is I rub it on the skin if she runs a temperature, or I do. When we lived in Australia, you just jump in the ocean. Cleaning the wounds, the earrings, the ears, that's all we use it for. So I come into the kitchen and there's an open bottle, it's standing there. And I go, sweetheart, when you finish cleaning, could you put it away, please? I like to keep it cold, right? And she comes out, she goes, oh my God, Mom, I just now understood how much you trust me. And then I was looking at her, I'm like, wait, but I do. I said, why would I not? I've never lied to you about the alcohol. I never lied to you what I have it for. I've demonstrated to you what I do, what I don't do. I've been the example I've been making sure that you ask me questions. I don't need to tiptoe. You're very intelligent. And with that, however, not to say that I don't lie, I lie to myself. Oh, but that's another thing. And so now I'm like, okay, but what, so bring it back to that story. I said, well, sweetheart, unless you're going to give me the reason not to trust you, then it's a very different story. Then we do need to sit down and understand, well, what is going on behind this behavior for you to choose differently, for you to lie, right? Again, that is me. And I do my best to show up differently. It's because it does hurt my heart. And I understand, well, because of how, I was raised, there was a lot of distortion. My desire is to live another person in clarity, it's very clean and it's not confusing. And that is my intention. And I understand when I mentioned to you previously about me lying to myself. So my biggest thing is, just one more croissant. No big deal. But then who's feeling sick? So that is not honoring the commitments to yourself, right? That's me not honoring commitments to myself. So it's like, well, then I go behind and I talk to myself and I look at it. Well, what is that drive? Is that a wound responding that I'm not going to get enough? Again, if you read my story, you would understand. It's like, am I actually responding from fear that I need a second croissant, or is one is enough for me? Because if I'm gonna eat a second one, then I would be lying to myself that I am honoring and being kind to my body. Back to the script. So to those commandments that are written in the book, right? It doesn't mean that anything goes. It means you're no longer behaving from fear of punishment. You're behaving from clarity of who you are, right? And there is someone which also has helped me is that you are loved. You are so, so loved. So if anything stays with you from today, that you don't need to perform. You are deeply loved. And if you allow yourself to remember, if it is micro moments, to remind yourself that you are deeply loved. You are cared for deeply. And if you allow yourself to come back from the heart into your heart space and take a step from there, if you forget, that's okay. Again, that is okay. Come back here and remind yourself that you are deeply loved. Remember, it's like from Lion King to this day. How many years I've watched it now. I love this cartoon. Remember who you are. And with that, I'm going to leave you with this. Are you living by rules you were taught or by a truth you can actually feel? You don't need to be commanded. You need to be honest enough to see. If this is landing, stay with me.